We're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of Comics That Influence. I'm Jake, and I'm here with Kurt, and we're going to be going over today the output of writer Jan Strnad, and you can see he was a collaborator of Richard Corben. So this is a name that we've been seeing for decades, and we're going to go over. Actually, what we're doing is we're going to be going through a couple of his comics, but we're going to be developing questions because Kurt has secured a green light to submit him written questions that we can get answered. And we figured that we can't really do justice unless we do a little retrospective here of some of his stuff. And we're going to also go over his history a little, but just to be very upfront here, we're not that familiar. We're big fans, obviously. Coming from the Richard Corben fandom world angle, but we're really just finding out. Live here on the air, all about Jan Strnad and his history. We can tell you that he was born in 1950 and he's from Wichita, Kansas, but how he got wrapped up into comics as a writer and working with Richard Corben and then working for Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and major TV franchises. It's quite a success story that we're just kind of uncovering. So, how you doing today, Kurt? I see you got some good stuff there laid out.
Oh, I'm elated about this. This is really exciting because yeah, just like you said, um, there's so many comics that are in my collections and comics that I'd come across and fell in love with, and the art obviously had this predominant attraction to me. But over time, you start seeing this name, and you're like, well, "Who's this? Who's this person?" And it's not like Denny O'Neil or
Right.
Roy Thomas. It's not signaling out at that. But man, you want to talk about like a career writing crazy pulp inspired comic books, post-apocalyptic sword and sorcery. I am so excited to just do our like go through and just come up with a bunch of questions, and then I'll email them to Jan, and then we'll see what comes back, and then what questions we do get, I'll post them up on our Substack, and of course there'll be a link down in the description. But
Right.
I just want to say right out of the gate, um, we're ready to start talking, right?
Yeah, and people should know that you can catch our Substack if you're watching this in the future when after we post it, long after we post it. You can catch our Substack at doommags
Thank you.
substack.com, or just put Doom Mags in Google and it'll probably come right up. So
Yeah,
how are we gonna start this one?
but well, just keep that Sword of
Yeah.
Adam is one of the most memorable comics I bought when I was 13 years old. So I bought my comic books either from a 7-Eleven, which is still operating down the street, or up the other street from my neighborhood was a newsstand. And that newsstand also had like a shelf section of comics. And I remember being so obsessed with sword and sorcery comics, obviously Conan the Barbarian, Savage Sword of Conan, that when I think it was even like summertime, spring or something. Oh my gosh. So that comic and this, which is Talos, are like, I have a box of comics and they are totally like my go-to when I'm just like melancholy heavy, and I just pull them out and throw them on the table and start going through them. But the first question I have for Jan is, how did he come to have a share credit writing with Gil Kane, because I know Gil Kane as being a very pulp obsessive, comic book creator. Was always pulling in the pulps and stuff. So it was obvious a good connection, because Jan definitely, for reading all the work that I have of his, I'm coming across pulling from those old golden ages of pulp. So that question really stands. But talk about getting bang for your buck.
Yeah.
The filling in these panels,
Right.
story, and illustration,
Yep. So,
very inspiring.
yeah, it's an interesting thing. Jan had, I guess, a very special love for sword and sorcery, barbarians, and this was a very interesting way for him to move a superhero, the Atom, who's a mainstay, DC Justice League character, into a world, where he gets caught up in this barbarian, sword and sorcery stuff. But if you notice here, right from the first page here, you can see there's also some machinery and some kind of like, futuristic stuff. So, it's an interesting story. And this goes back here to Sword of the Atom, #1, 1983 miniseries, DC miniseries. And, Gil Kane at this point was, he was at the pinnacle of his career, big name. He had done, in the late 60s, he had done some of the most, iconic runs on Spider-Man and, all the cover art that you could name. And he was probably just picking and choosing his own, projects at that point. One thing I got to say about Gil Kane is, he very, very noticeably got away from traditional brush pen and brush ink, and he was just using these markers, and it's
Yeah,
pretty incredible.
flares,
Right. Well, I think,
fine liners.
83, there's probably like Pilot, Razor Point, and maybe like Papermate flares. And then it looks like he used like a heavier black marker to fill in his spot blacks. But, we're actually here to talk about the writing. And,
Yeah.
So I sat back down to read The Sword of the Atom, #1, 1983. And it's pretty interesting because they're going to try to like reinvent this Atom character where he's going to be thrust into this world of like, miniature, riding frogs and snakes and these little yellow people. And I'm like, all right, let's see how he gets into this. So I'm just going right on the first page, and he's and so look at this. What I noticed
Oh.
my copy from childhood is vandalized because I was making a bank of cool panels, and I was taping them onto like into a notebook so that
Right.
I could just have them for easy reference because I didn't care about these comics. I probably bought them for a dime,
Yeah,
and I
I
didn't,
did the same thing.
right. And so I mutilated this comic. But I do also get enough here of the story to see that this was a little bit edgy for 83. You're just coming
Yeah.
right out of the 70s. The Atom finds his wife making kissy face with another man, and obviously he had been in the lab too much, and he'd been ignoring her, and she, there's this whole like interpersonal thing where she's paying money from her salary for all of his weird projects, and he's building this transmitter machine, whatever they call it. So they kind of like have a falling out, and you don't see that too often. I mean, they did that with like they played around with the Fantastic Four for a while, where they got separated. But the married life, right? And this was kind of like really what differentiated Marvel from other companies was that they had real life problems, and they had psychological ups and downs. Anyway, long story short, there is a story here to be read, and there's kind of a lot of text on the page. Not too much. I would say a good balance. the Atom gets thrust into this world where there's like these little miniature people here, these little yellow people, and they speak a different language, but it's this whole adventure that the Atom gets brought into, and he starts picking up swords, like he becomes a fisticuff fighter.
Swashbuckler.
Right, and because I think he loses his ability to shrink and get bigger, and so he's just like stuck like that.
Well, the thing that had me so captivated about the Sword of Adam, being 13 years old, is that this could be happening in my backyard right now.
Right.
That was the whole like fantastic part about it. Let alone like tapping into my sword and sorcery obsession.
I love that you said that
from the beginning.
Yeah, I love that you said that because the Micronauts came out
yes.
also in the 80s. And that was an interesting thing because they were obviously they were tying into a series of toys that they were trying to hawk, and it was basically all just a vehicle for that. But you're bringing me back to like, yeah, when we were kids, we used to pretend, we used to have our little action figures, and we used to play, and we used to like, hey man, what are you doing there? Let me get you. I had my Evil Knievel with the missing head, and they put the Planet of the Apes head back on him because it fit. All that kind of stuff. But you get swept away in this, and unfortunately, I don't have the other copies handy. I think I have them somewhere in my various boxes that we might revisit on another episode. But I got into the writing, and this is DC's one of the bigs in '83. They're riding high. This was bringing the Atom, which is an exciting primary color superhero with this costume. I always love the red and the blue playing off each other. Always love the Atom, just for that. And, bringing them into this whole new sword and sorcery story. So the issues 1 to 4 come out between 1983. No, all within 1983. No, actually September, 83 to 84. And then following up on the success of that, they came out with Sword of the Atom Special. We just looked this up, 1, 2, and 3, all the way going from stretching from 84 all the way out to like 89, which means like it was kind of like a back burner project, and they just kind of put it out when it was done. And it continues the storyline. There's a lot here going on where the wife actually, is still interested in this guy that she was cheating with, and he gets brought into the world because the Atom is missing, and she comes looking for him. And she gets shrunk, and she gets thrust into this world. I love this word balloon. I was joking around with Kurt before. Put me down. I'm not one of your backwater barbarian wenches. I don't belong here. Right? And so here she gets thrown in, the white woman with the yellow, pale yellow woman, like these little, warrior creature people.
So, Jake.
Yeah, and there's a lot to this. This is kind of meaty. There's action, there's intrigue, and here's Gil Kane with his, very unique marker only style, which was kind of like his Jack Kirby, era, where he just went to, kind of like the fastest shortcut style that gets you to just crank books out, and that enabled it to be, I guess, fun and interesting for Gil Kane because it sped up the workflow, and you still got these great layouts. Still got the great storytelling. I'm not in love with the coloring in this. Tom Zucco, colorist. But, these were the days when the tools were kind of limited. So, Sword of the Atom, I would definitely try to pick that up. This was, Jan doing his mainstream writing for the comics where, you can't get too off the wall, and, you still got the Comics Code Authority here. And, you don't want to play around too much with DC's characters, but at the same time, you want to make your stuff original and different and compelling. So here's I guess the very end. Spoiler alert here. Adam falls in love with the little yellow chick, and I think he just ends his days there, or we're led to believe. But Yeah, what were you gonna say, Kurt? What's up?
So, I have a similar title from DC that Jan worked on with Gil Kane. And so the question comes down for me is who from DC is reaching out to Jan in order to acquire his writing assistance? Another question would be, is he mailing this in or is he living near or inside New York City? Because, we're still talking about, fax machines, I guess, and stuff, and mail, in correspondence, and that is another question that ends up dovetailing into those two questions, which is, somebody at DC is noticing the work that he's done, from maybe Anomaly, the fanzine, to, work with Richard Corben in, Fantagor
Right. So
and
his, yeah,
stuff. So,
that's where his roots were. That predates this DC stuff. This DC stuff, he's already in the business for 69. So
14
13,
years?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
like
13. Yeah.
definitely more than a decade, and that's where his roots started out. We can talk a little bit about that in a second, but some info on Talos is that 1987 48-page one-shot special,
Yeah, I love this.
fantasy story that is not so much a boy and his dog, but a boy and his big cat. Originally planned as a 12-issue maxi series, Gil Kane's Talos of the Wilderness Sea was released as with the hope that future installments would follow should fan interest warrant. Apparently, it didn't. Although the cover art makes it look like a standard Conan-type barbarian, Gil Kane and Jan Strnad actually came through with a very different story. It's a post-nuclear Armageddon future. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
lands around the Wilderness Sea are inhabited by two communities, the Beast People, radiation-deformed slaves, and the Tsar, normal humans who have forced the Beast People to serve them. One day, a miraculous event occurs. The offspring of two beast people is a perfectly formed human baby. Kidnapped and raised as a prince of the Tsar people, Karn learns the way of a warrior, but grows increasingly sympathetic to the beast people's plight. In true messianic fashion, he learns that he is actually the incarnation of their god, Talos, and that it is his destiny to lead the beast people into freedom. The total value in near mint condition of issue number one is a staggering $4.60.
So you know what this also reminds me of, and I'll flash this up on the screen, is Gil Kane's paperback novel, Black Mark. So
Right.
it's the same kind of like tropies, pulp fiction, where, there's a young boy who has a mark, and there's a prophecy, and there's evildoers within the, it's inescapable with comic books, which is I love. I am so obsessed with
Yeah.
cheesy B movie tropey stuff, but it has to be done well. And like I said, this book is in my little getaway case of books, and every time, even right now as you're talking, I'm like, yep, I'm listening. But I'm back into this whole. It's like it's just like
Yeah,
like
this
a
was on the tail
microcosm
end.
kind of thing.
Right. So this was on the tail end of Gil and Jan's
Yep.
collaborations,
Mm-hmm.
or at least for DC. And it sounds like that Jan was a go-to. He was like a seasoned professional writer, and and so we're going to talk about that throughout his career. But um, let's go back and let's go back to the '60s. And I came across these mutant worlds. This is in Kansas City, Corben Studios. This is 1990, but this is obviously a reprint. This stuff came out way before that. It doesn't say when this was originally published. I don't think. You think this was put out in 1990? Yeah, maybe it was for the
Yeah,
first time. All right, so let's go back to the 60s here using this. Um, So this was how Jan describes his first meeting with Richard Corben. There's a great article in bleedingcool.com, which is a comic book oriented online journal. And when Richard Corben died, Jan posted a really heartfelt letter, kind of like a memorial, and has a lot of interesting information in there that I really recommend people read. But he says that he was tabling at a science fiction writing convention in 1969, and that he walked away from his table and came back. He had to go to the bathroom or something. And when he got home, he saw that on his sign-up list for subscribers, to subscribe to this anomaly zine that he was putting out, was the name Richard Corben. And he was like, "Oh, geez, how did I miss this?"
Oh man! Oh.
So he reaches out with the hopes that he can get Richard Corben to contribute to his zine, and he responded positively, and that launched a 50-year collaboration
Jeez.
of writing and art. Corben, obviously the insanely talented artist who just kind of.
I have a reprint from Anomaly number 5, and here's another good question. Encounter at War. So I'm assuming those two things that I'm presenting here, which is a reprint from Anomaly number 5, and him having that time at a table at a science fiction writers convention, and Richard Corben coming through. There's something that transpires, and I just kind of see two young guys being so well connected in what they were being inspired by, that the ideas were probably just falling out of every they're just like, let's do this. How about this? How about this? How about and they had to come up with something and get it completed. So Encounter at War is a pretty, like, I would say, like a really good example of the two of them at play in the 70s, early, I think it's like 73 this comes out. So, or maybe it's earlier.
So I'm just looking to see Anomaly number 1.
72.
Yeah, that's when Anomaly 5 came out?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
or 4. It's 4. It's Anomaly number 4 is what it says.
If you're interested in Anomaly number 1, looks like original pressing. Looks like it's fetching about $60 on eBay.
Yeah, I have it in my wish list there, so I'm tracking that one on my saved searches. Yeah. Oh yeah, I collect zines. So,
this is not any zine. Look at this. Look at this art.
Yeah.
This was this was up and comers and really good stuff. So there's that. But when you go through his Jan's career as a writer, so here's a page on the Marvel website, and they entrusted him with some pretty big franchises. Here's the Star Wars Legends Omnibus Volume 2 hardcover. So he's doing some writing here with these characters. The New Republic trade paperback, Star Wars stories. So I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy, but I know that they have a very dedicated following of nerds out there, that buy their stuff and, keep it all in print and keep it all going. Here we have Jan is working with John Romita Jr. when comics were only 60 cents and nothing can stop the juggernaut. So this seems to me like maybe like the mid 80s. I'm just guessing, but Roger Stern was the editor, Jan Strnad, the writer, John Romita Jr. on the one of the flagship titles, The Amazing Spider-Man. Come on, man. And Spidey versus the Juggernaut. And who's he holding? He's holding Aunt May there, and she's got like a superhero costume on. What the hell's going on? Yeah, well, interesting stuff. So we're back to Star Wars. I'm just trying to see what the various titles are. And look at this big head dude, right? This seems like, Star Wars. This kind of has kind of like an indie magazine feel to it, right? And this is Marvel 1998. This is Marvel 1998.
Yeah, I
There's
think
this
that's
big
also that's like the peak of their struggle too. Comics in general. So they were probably reaching deep and far to try to keep things fresh or give fresh look.
yeah, but how do you? Yeah, I mean, he's making a go of it here. They're coming out with multiple issues. You got, the protagonist looks like this big conehead dude. He's like a Jedi. He's got a lightsaber. He's fighting these incredible robots and warriors on the covers. And here's a Greedo-looking guy. Good art. Really good production values on this. Look at this guy. So he's right in there. I see Strnad Jones. Could that be
Bruce.
Bruce? Could that be Kelly? Who is that? Which Jones is that? I wonder. And here is the X-Wing Rogue Squadron. So just I'm just scrolling through the years and years of output in the 90s. Here in 95, and he's right here listed as the main writer for all this stuff. This is a really good run here. So it looks like load more. What else did he do for Marvel? So these were the years I was really out of comics.
Yeah, me too.
And so this is all learning for me. But look at this. He's got a brain in a jar connected to this like spidery robot. Battleground Tatooine. He's getting to play with these environments and these worlds, that are
Well,
legendary.
once again, you're talking classic pulp space opera. That's exactly
Right.
what George Lucas was dragging from. He has been rejected on not being able to do Flash Gordon, which was a blessing because he was able to construct his own. I mean, even up to the point where he had Lee Brackett write predominantly the draft of The Empire Strikes Back, from which who's a huge space opera writer and stuff. So my question, looking at all this Star Wars material, who is he leaning back into, if anybody, when it comes to constantly coming up with a monthly material output, storyline, because he does have a lot to pull from when it comes to pulp in having Star Wars, and like you said, all these characters and places and lightsabers, and it's easy. I can't. Let me retract that. It's not easy, but it seems like it would be a hell of a lot of fun and
Right.
a challenge to be able to make something happen. Let's say new and fresh. When it comes
Right.
to
So that's a
the
good
Star Wars
question.
franchise.
That's a good question for like when in the 90s when you're handed the most famous Star Wars franchise, who do you look to or where do you draw from to to turn those around? Because it's got to be intimidating, on some level.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, if they're giving you your own characters to make, then maybe it's not as nerve wracking.
Yeah.
But they are giving you the keys to the world. So here the images aren't loading, but on Dark Horse, he has Creepy issue number 20 and Archives volume 14 and 16. And then the Ragemoor, which I think I have some better pictures of. But Dark Horse published Ragemoor, which was a kind of like a feature length collaboration between him and Corben, where it's like a living castle. The idea is that it's like a living castle. A horror story. He describes it as a horror story about a living castle. Richard was looking for 8-page stories at the time, but he said that for all the time and trouble that it took to develop an 8-pager with all the characters and everything, that you only get paid by the page. So he talked Richard into making it a full length, a book length story. And he names the editor Scott Alley balked at a single issue, explaining that they would lose money on a comic book, but that if they did 4 issues, they could combine them into a graphic novel that would have some shelf life. Richard acquiesced, and Ragemoor became a graphic novel.
Wow.
So he also says this involves a discussion that you and I keep having. He says Richard had a sensitive side, and he thought that the ending that Jan concocted was too harsh, and he pointed out that he was too close to the characters that he was drawing, and he felt they deserved a better fate than the ending that Jan was giving them. So that was part of the back and forth that they had. They don't want to see these precious characters.
Well, there's another question. Collaboration and giving in. How much compromise.
Right.
You got 50 years though, so over time you sort of learn each other's no non-negotiables. You and I have had plenty of time together, so it's easy for us to move through. And I can speak for myself that if you're pretty hardcore about something and I'm not all that in, I'm not going to fight you on it. But at the same time, there could be things that come along where I say, you know what, let's talk about this and see if we can come up with a compromise. I'll get A and you get B. So question would be to Jan, how, no marriage is roses and wine all the time. So what were some of those really, really tough intersections, and how were they able to get beyond it?
Well, he talks about this in his memoriam, but here's a great paragraph. He says that when Jan went out to Europe to accept an award, all anybody wanted to talk about was Richard Corben, particularly the European artists who were fascinated by his hand coloring process.
Yeah.
So you could really see that, because
we know that
it's just such a mystery how he was pulling this off. Pitching a story to Richard was not a sure thing. After the Spirit story, Joey Cavalieri invited us to pitch a Weird War Tales story, and Jan came up with a logical way to pit Nazis against dinosaurs, and he considered it a Bradbury-esque story.
Nice. Nice.
And let's see. So yeah, they're always looking to kind of like, I guess, combine these different genres. The rumble of panzers is the heavy tread of tyrannosaurs. The sound of battle is the Nazis being set upon by vengeful dinosaurs. So basically, like, the soldier becomes delirious, and he's like, imagining all this. And Parker believes it's real right up until the end, when both soldiers are killed by an artillery shell. When the Allies retake the town, they find the body of Parker with a smile on his face. I will not too humbly admit that I love this story. So yeah, great stuff. It's good to have a good writer, pairing it with this great art. It really makes something special.
So just over to my camera real quickly. I am flipping through Fever Dreams, kitchen sink, 1972.
Okay.
And this is Richard Corben and John Richardson, which is actually what my question is going to be focused on, and Jan Strnad. So the question is, I'm a big fan of fanzines, and I have, I'm going to flash them up. The name of them have escaped them. I didn't write my notes anyhow. And John Atkins Richardson is just a really fascinating individual. It was the original reason I had hunted down Jan, found him on Facebook, messaged him, because I do want to reprint some of John's work. But, whatever little there is to say about John Richardson, I would love to hear from Jan. As it goes with questions, because I've the construction of comic book, there's very few people that I hold dear, and John is one of them, because each panel is literally given an entire attention as if it was 11 by 14. And the let me find the name of this
Yeah,
comic real
here's
quick.
some Bruce Jones. So it seems like Bruce Jones was in their little clique, you know. Um, some really great sequences here, and don't know what. I mean, Jan is credited. I guess Jan is credited on the stuff that he did, but these Fantagor Press offerings were amazing anthologies. That were showing off, I guess, just a few pages of Corben at a time. So this was always the model. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pages of Corben, and then a Bruce Jones
Oh,
installment.
nice, nice.
And then you get back to another Corben. Oh, so there's more Corben here with a different writer. And he's using that dot matrix stuff, which to me isn't his best stuff, but it's all part of the journey. And then you come here to Brian Buniak, 1990 stuff. So this was a lot of value here, and this was all coming out under Corben's shingle, imprimatur.
Fantagor.
Fantagor, right?
So
But
just for
look how he gives Jan like such prominent billing right up top. It's great.
right. So the Maxor is the comic in the Fantastic Exploits fanzine that I first came across, but now you have me thinking. One of my other big questions is, did Jan and Richard Corben put together Fantagor, or is Fantagor originally just Richard Corben, then tag teaming with Bruce Jones, Jan Strnad, so on and so forth. So, because that was next to fanzines. Anything Fantagor was putting out, I think, had a lot of weight in it, because it was really, underground, but it was ahead of the game.
Yeah. Well, it says here in the indicia that Fantagor Press is a division of Corben Studios, and that it says that there's an individual copyright for Jan and Richard for Chapter 5. So it looks like they really delineated, who was contributing to what in this one. And I think we spoke about this in the past, but this is a printing error here in this little box, this little
Yeah.
printing blemish. Something went horribly wrong, and I don't think this
It's a black moon, Jake.
right. No, yeah, this was supposed to say something, but it printed up incorrectly. But yeah, Son of Mutant World, Jan and Richard, copyright 1990, and I'm pretty sure Fantagor is Richard's baby,
We'll
and Jan
find
is.
out.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that I would never ask, but like how did the money all work? I mean, I just hope that Jan, because I always wonder if writers are able to make a decent living. It seems like a lot of the value in making comic pages is for the art, because it gets published, and then you can also sell the original art, and that could sometimes be more than you got for your page rate.
Yeah.
Depending on the artist. And then for writers, you're just clacking on keyboard, hitting print, and it's maybe somebody wants to buy a signed copy of a script or something, but I mean, you got to really be big for that. And here's a guy that that was a success. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to click over to IMDb because of all this talking that we're doing, there's a whole other life that he had doing episodes for TV. And some of these stuff I never knew about. Some of these stuff I've never heard of. But check out this. Let's see all. So his first credit, because if you want to go backwards, he's still coming out with stuff now. But there's some surprises in here for sure. And I don't know why my internet's getting hokey, but this one page, and I'm starting out in 2000. So he's doing the Avengers animated series, United They Stand, in 2000. That's 25 years ago, man. We got Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, one episode in 2000. Jackie Chan Adventures TV series, 2001, 2 episodes, written by Jan. I think that's live action. So, a lot of different properties here that you're just stepping into the role when you're a professional writer. It sounds like there's a lot of research you got to do, number one, right? Because, all right, well, what does Jackie Chan do? What does he say? What are the...
Once again, great question. Writer's process. How does Jan start writing for a particular property?
You have to sit down and watch everything that Jackie Chan ever did.
I don't know about that, but we'll see. We'll find out. That's a good question. What is it? What is that writer's process to get the magic out?
So Harold and the Purple Crayon, 2002. Pirate Net, 2002. House of Mouse, that sounds like Disney, 2003. Lilo and Stitch, the series, 1 episode, 2004. Trolls, 2005. God, I didn't know Trolls was that old.
Well, we also know that there's no money in comics. Nobody is ever going to turn around and review that. So if you want to make some money as a writer, Hollywood, just ain't go down to
and
Hollywood.
At least if you're in the union and you're the Writers Guild and all that,
got an agent,
scale.
My agent.
But look at this. So before anybody turns up their nose and say, oh, he's doing Harold and the Purple Crayon, Lilo and Stitch. This is how you can pay your life. This is how you can pay off your mortgage and put your kids through college if you have kids. Some of this stuff I wouldn't turn my nose up at anything. SpongeBob SquarePants 2021. That's a really funny show. That's considered a real cult show. Sword of the Atom got made into a TV miniseries in 2012. One episode. I know. I never even knew that was going on. I want to know who was the artist. Where did that air? And here it is. On an expedition to the Amazon, Ray Palmer crashes and is trapped and shrunk at 6 inches. Must survive the natives. And here's some screenshots. Amazing that this stuff gets made. All of these voiceover people, it's a pretty heavy budget. And, this is already 12 years ago. I can't load, for some reason, I can't load anything older than 2000. I just keep hitting the button and nothing happens. But, I really respect this. You, as a writer, look, so many different things. It's not like he's pigeonholed, into one, kind of genre or one character. And so you go in, from Batman, the Brave and the Bold, Batman Black and White, to, Mickey Mouse, to Buzz Lightyear, back to the Avengers. And, you could really have fun with all this stuff. So sounds like a real decent, career. He's most known for, I guess, this is what's on the other page that I can't load. Darkwing Duck, 4 episodes. That's Disney. That's like those Huey, Dewey, Louie and the Scrooge characters. And RoboCop, Alpha Commando. Check this out. 40 episodes from
Nice.
1998 to 1999. So I'm imagining that Jan is sitting pretty at that point, because that's a decent, amount of work that you're getting, and my impression is that the pay at that point is decent, because these are big properties for big companies, and you're writing here at a very professional level for TV.
So we're at that 45-minute mark. We love to keep these bite-sized. I have one last question. It's more like a suggestions I would like to ask from Jan. When it comes to classic sword and sorcery, the old guys, obviously we have Robert E. Howard, Fritz Leiber, Clark Ashton Smith. I would like to know from Jan at least two not so well known sword and sorcery writers and or stories that he would suggest people tap into, that they find, because I find when I read his work, one of the major reasons I'm making such a major connection is because of his major connection to that past, that sword and sorcery pulpy past, and as I love saying, that wonderful, glorious nonsense, of being fantasy. But I think we have what we want in the way of questions. Jake, do you have any other questions for Jan before we let ourselves go and then put this together for him, that we will then receive those answers from our questions from this deep dive and post it on Substack, doommags.substack.com, which I'm going to run something under the bottom
Right.
to help people, as well as
Well,
links in the description.
I guess I got you always have that fun question, like what's the one character that you wanted to write for that you never got the chance?
There you go.
That if you could, because you hope that, hey, maybe someone will see this interview and then call them up and let them do it. But that, I mean, I can ask a million questions. I wonder, like, what he's thinking for the future. Does he have kids? What is he donating his stuff to a museum, all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to, like, I don't know. I don't want to, like, be too proby.
Yeah. All right. So be on the look. Well, actually, no. We will have links in the description to the Substack. So that down below will be links to the answers to our questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. See you in the funny papers.
And thank you, Jan.
Thanks, Jan, for a very inspiring career.
All right. I'll see you next Sunday, Jake.
All right. Bye, everybody.